So 2006.
I graduated high school.
I did not.
I know.
Uh,
I had to leave you behind.
the honorable mentions are Have Heart, The Things We Carry. I mean, Have Heart, a forgotten band by me, but I used to listen to them a lot, probably around this time. The Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, Don't You Fake It. That's an honorable mention for me. I mean, it was a good album at the time. I don't think it really held up its end on my later years when I go back to it.
So as an album, I see that. I think it's important, though, considering it's an honorable mention, to actually mention this, and that's that their single Face Down
Oh my God! Yeah.
was a banger, but more importantly, it was like a straight slap in the face to any domestic issue, which, up until this point, like when we were kids, it was like, oh, we don't talk about what goes on behind closed doors. Like, bitch, no, we talk about it, and you don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they made statements with
the
that.
album with the subject matter was definitely like very strong.
Yeah. Well, and they never intended to be a band like that. They were never like, oh, let's go tour the world and record all these albums and put them out. And they were just like, oh, let's hang out in the garage and write some songs. And who knew?
Under Oath, Define the Great Line. That's another honorable mention. That album starts out really strong, but then it just kind of peters off like after like the midpoint for me, at least. I remember buying this album when it came out.
How does one peter off?
Just...
Ooh. Yeah. It does taper off in the later tracks, I think. The very strong out the gate, but I think, I could be wrong, they struggled to fill this album.
I think so. I mean, especially following They're Only Chasing Safety. I mean, that album was huge when it came out. But another honorable mention, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Stadium Arcadium. Solid album, but it doesn't have the power of Californication.
The paradox of being a musician is that you're going to put out something amazing. And after you do, it's going to be really hard to make yourself worthwhile.
Yeah. And then the last honorable mention is Tool, 10,000 Days. Solid Tool album. I think, well, never mind. I was going to say it might be my favorite, but I think that might be Lateralis.
If you were a Tool, what would you be?
A wrench.
Are you a wrench? Every time I see you, my nuts tighten up.
You had to think about that one for a hot second. You had to pause. You were like, hold on. How can I...
LJ, are you a drill sergeant? No? You've got my private standing at attention.
So the top four, Hawthorne Heights, If Only You Were Lonely. Victory Records, pushed this album hard. Because, I mean, I remember when you used to get, like, the Victory Record band, like, CDs, they'd give you, like, the Victor Vs. And it would
I
be
remember
like
wishing that they would leave me alone.
It was the music videos, and then they would, like, have advertisements for, like, stuff that's coming out or merch or what have you. Like, the one that I had was just pushing this album. It was insane.
Wasn't this album the subject of a lawsuit later?
I don't know.
Might have to look into that.
Was that Hawthorne Heights or I think Hawthorne Heights was doing it, but Day to Remember were the ones that really went into it with Victory, and I think they won.
Truth be told, everybody in the music industry is suing their record label now. I mean, like, we have Taylor's version for her entire discography, so she can get the rights back. But is it wrong? I'd remake all my albums over again to have the rights if I had that problem. But
yeah, because they did re-release this album, like, recently. That's my wife dumping the rest of our dinner out. The popular songs off this album: "This Is Who We Are," "Pens and Needles." The biggest one is "Saying Sorry." That was like their big hit off this. "Light Sleeper," I think, was another single that they pushed.
"Saying Sorry" is the only thing I really remember from it, to be honest with you. But
I like this album like from front to back.
I like Hawthorne Heights.
It's good. "Atreyu," "A Death Grip on Yesterday."
That beat out "Red Jumpsuit."
Yeah, this
Really?
album rips, and I forgot how much this ripped. So this had "Creature," "Shameful," "The Theft," "X's and O's." "X's and O's" was like the big one from this album. But this is good from front to back. Like, it is probably well, it doesn't beat out "The Crimson" or "The Curse," but this album.
The Crimson was on "The Curse," wasn't it?
Yeah, that was like their single off that album.
I thought that was Right Side of the Bed.
Silverstein, "Discovering the Waterfront." You want to talk about a banger?
Did I already talk about my story with Silverstein?
No.
It was either 2016, Warped Tour 2016, as Harbinger, the drum company. I went down to record Have Mercy's entire set because Todd Wallace, their drummer at the time, played one of our drums. So I did that. They played like 10 o'clock in the morning. Got that squared away. From then on, it was party time. But I still had all access since I was there to record somebody. I don't remember it, but I'm told that I was actually standing on the ramp backstage when Silverstein was trying to load on, and their singer was literally standing there screaming at me to get the fuck out of the way. And I it was not registering. And they walked over and grabbed me and moved me onto the stage so they could load their gear on. And to this day, I have wanted to apologize to them for that. But that day, I just went out in the crowd and surfed back to the front. So,
you hear that, Shane from Silverstein? Andy says he's sorry.
I am. No intention to block you guys getting on stage, man. I love the band, and that was an amazing set. But I was definitely feeling it that day.
And the last one I put on here just out of principle because I don't want to get slaughtered in the comment section. My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade. It had more songs than I remember that I knew. I'm going to be honest.
I don't think it was a great album, though.
I don't.
There were good songs, but it wasn't a great album.
No.
I think that...
No.
Sorry, I stole it from your mouth.
I guess I probably should have put Red Jumpsuit in its place. But like I said, I didn't want to get slaughtered because everybody loves this album so much. I don't know why.
They love the song.
But let them have it. I mean, The Black Parade, the song, Welcome to the Black Parade, it's the most recognizable couple of notes in emo music.
And yet everybody that tries to play it on a piano screws it up.
My pick out of the four, I think it's going to be Discovering the Waterfront.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the Smile in Your Sleep, My Heroine, Call It Karma.
Silverstein grabbed that one by the horns and just completely wrecked everything when they recorded that album.
Yeah, that is such a good album.
Who was the... It still wins for 2006. I'm just making that executive decision. Came out 4 months prior, but it was just wrecking everything.
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna stick to it. It came out in 2006 in my heart. We're there. 2007. This one was a banger. Hopefully that these albums actually came out in 2007.
I mean, that's a year that I'm probably gonna know.
Circa Survive. Or no, the honorable mention, there's two. There's The Used, Lies for the Liars. That album's really good. I remember buying that the day it came out. I got a collector's edition. It came in a DVD style opening case. It had a book. I think they did like a theme album because it had like the dude with like the rectangle head, and it was all like weird looking. And they did like a bunch of themed music videos that were kind of the same style.
I didn't listen to that too much.
It was good. It's definitely not as strong as their self-titled and In Love and Death, but
that's why I didn't listen to it too much.
It still has its tracks. It does kind of like fall down in some of the tracks, but the tracks that are good, I mean, The Bird and the Worm.
That is a good track.
Earthquake. Smother Me. I think there's a song called Earthquake. There's a couple songs off that album that are really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pattern I'm noticing. Like, these bands are trying to get albums out, we'll say every 2 years for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize that you can turn a lot of songs out in a short period of time, but I almost wonder if it's there's this pressure to release music to people.
And you have to have the singles ready for the album and push them to hype the release of the album, and like you're just kind of...
And then you wind up with filler.
Yeah.
That really doesn't go anywhere.
The other honorable mention is August Burns Red, Messengers. This album ripped hard.
Were they still on CI at that point?
I think so. This might have been their release on because this had Composure on it. That was that song took over the metalcore world, and it still does. I mean, this
August
is when
Burns
they started.
Red takes over the metalcore world routinely, so
yeah. So the top 4: A Day to Remember for Those Who Have Heart. Fast forward to 2012, The Danger in Starting a Fire, Monument, The Plot to Bomb the Panhandle. They did the Kelly Clarkson cover, Since You've Been Gone. This album was huge for me and my group of friends. This blended that pop punk hardcore genre and just grouped it into one and just pushed it. It was so good. Emir, Goodbye to the Gallows, another album that at the time was huge for my friend group. You're
I had to hear it. I had to.
Yeah, Emir, Goodbye to the Gallows. This is one of the first as meme as this is gonna sound and stupid, because this band is just also known for being shit people.
Who is it?
Emir.
You put them in the top 4?
This album is cemented them as something really good. At least this album. This is the only good album. 10 Signs You Should Leave, Rusted Over Wet Dreams, When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. Dude, I re-listened to this album and I was like, wow, yeah. Huge for at least my friend group and at least the scene at the time. Circa Survive, On Letting Go, Living Together, In the Morning. Wait, what the hell? In the Morning and Amazing. The Greatest Lie, The Difference Between Medication and Poison is in the Dose. This album was a banger. It had the hot air balloon on the front of it.
That album was pure lightning.
My friend Gordon got me into this band, but I didn't really care for them at that time. This band came later when I started working at CC's Pizza.
If you like that album, you should listen to Juturna.
That's a good one, too. Yeah, Circa Survive for me came much later down the... Well, I guess now it was pretty long ago, but they came much later, as my music tastes kind of matured.
For obvious reasons, I lumped Circus Survive in with Seosin.
Yeah.
And we're not going to dig into the whole Anthony Green thing, but they were good. They were really good. They weren't as edgy as Seosin, in my opinion, but...
And do you want to hear the obvious choice for this year?
Isn't there a fourth one?
Yeah, this is the fourth one. This is
Oh.
what we're both gonna choose.
Yeah, it's Taking Back Sunday.
No.
What?
Paramore, Riot.
Riot can't.
Double check me. I don't blame you. I see your belly.
My belly sticking out? Oh, my. I've exposed myself.
I should have poked you and...
I'm more like the Michelin Man than the...
I'll say
the
some of the big songs from this album. That's What You Get, Hallelujah, Misery Business, Miracle, Crush, 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 We Are Broken, Fences.
Just list off the whole album.
That's pretty much, yeah.
It is 2007.
Aha!
I thought that was 2006. Riot was 2007.
Yep.
Riot
launched Paramore into, like, beyond the stratosphere, and whatever's beyond that, they went past that, too.
Yeah, I mean, All We Know Is Falling put them on the map in a big, big way. Riot just, like...
destroyed everything in the best way possible.
There was no map after that point for them. It was every direction points up. Every song on that album is good.
It's so perfectly paced too. Like, it's come in with like this fast banger, then it slows it down to like a slower song. There's a little piano into it, and then it has like one of those like mid speed songs that's like really just punchy and powerful, and like it feels like there's 100 guitars and drum kits just like smacking you in the face. Like, it's such a perfect album.
Well, and the weird thing too is, you know, Hayley Williams had red hair. You call it red, I call it orange.
Mm-hmm.
During All We Know Is Falling, as far as I know, because I've seen pictures from that
she
era.
She had red hair during that album, and she had orange hair during like this.
Well,
era.
Nobody realized that her hair was that color until this album came out, because suddenly everybody was doing it. It was just like, oh, I want my hair to be that color.
Mm-hmm. This
and
was
like, you
every
realize...
scene girl in the world just wanted to be Hayley Williams.
Yeah.
They wanted to sing like Hayley Williams. They wanted to look like Hayley Williams. They wanted to dress like Hayley Williams. Like, she was the emo god to the scene girls. Goddess, yeah.
Well, and to that point, every scene or emo guy wanted to date her, and later on, we all really, really hated Chad for it, so...
Oh, I forgot that she was with Chad Gilbert from New Found Glory.
Wasn't just with.
Married.
They
got divorced, I think.
They did.
It's depressing. He has cancer.
As far as I understand, she's available.
Did you know that? He has cancer?
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Like pretty bad.
Well, I think that's kind of an arbitrary way to describe cancer. As soon as it's cancer, it's pretty bad, but...
Yeah, but like, I guess
he's progressed, is what you're saying.
Like, he's continuing to battle and get treatments and stuff, and like, he has his good days and bad days, but like, yeah, like, he is in an ongoing battle with cancer, yes. I guess it's been happening for a while.
I thought they were touring right now.
He plays when he can, like when his body feels good enough to play. Like, I don't think he jumps around and stuff, obviously.
Bro, if Chad's on stage, he jumping around.
Mm-mm.
I saw them in like 2017. It was the most wild show I've ever been to. Although I will say, Jordan didn't really talk outside of singing.
Yeah, he's not like... I think he plays like when he can, and I think it's like kind of like an agreement with the band that he can play shows when he can. Yeah, but I forget what I saw. It was I was looking at CM Punk's Instagram once, and I saw, because I guess him and Chad are good friends, and it was CM Punk sitting with Chad during one of his cancer treatments, and I was like, whoa, what? But
decent amount of information about your Instagram in that sentence, but
okay. I'm a wrestling fan, all right? Not so much a CM Punk fan, but wrestling fan at that. 2008. This has one honorable mention. H2O's Nothing to Prove. This was like the one that this is the album that I like the most from this band. They're not like high on my list, but they are pretty pretty damn good. The four albums, I forgot I crossed one out. So we're going to start with the odd one out. Taylor Swift's Fearless. Don't care what anybody says. This album rules.
Fearless came out in 2008.
Yeah.
What was the one before that?
Not a clue. I have no clue.
The one with Teardrops on My Guitar.
Not a clue.
I don't know what they called it. That was my go-to Taylor album.
This one's good. This one was Love Story, 15, You Belong With Me, Hey Steven, White Horse.
I think we're talking about the same album.
I don't think Teardrops. I would have put that on the song list. I'll keep going with the albums.
Yeah, I'll do my thing.
Story of the Year, The Black Swan. Not their best work, I will say, but it had its songs. Wake Up, The Antidote, Apathy is a Death Wish, Terrified. I remember what?
The one with Teardrops on My Guitar was her self-titled.
Ah, okay.
I didn't even know she had a self-titled.
Neither did I.
Can we get a Taylor's version of that?
It's one of the. I have a love-hate relationship with this album. Like I bought this when it came out because I was so excited that Story of the Year put out new music. This is the album after In the Wake, so I was like riding high on that album, and I put it in, and I was just like, it's okay.
Yeah, they waited a while.
I think they were going through some trouble during this time.
They were, and I wasn't a huge fan of Black Swan. I don't think it was a good decision to release an album at this point, and
no,
I think it reflects that.
I put this one on for you, Anne Boleyn's New Surrender. The only 3 songs that I really remember off this album was The Resistance, Breaking, and Feel Good Drag, but they put Feel Good Drag on 7 albums of theirs.
Everything's on. Well, at this point,
why did they choose to do that?
Because Anne Boleyn, at this point, literally has almost their entire discography in live albums. So, one could argue, well, you're just releasing the same songs. Well, that's true, but these were live streams during COVID and post-COVID. So it's a little bit different. You're getting the live aspect and the actual performance piece of it. The main contention here is that Feel Good Drag was on New Surrender. It was initially released on Never Take Friendship Personal several years prior. The Never Take Friendship Personal version was recorded with their indie label, which it is escaping me right now who the hell they were signed to, and it shouldn't. Because it was at any rate,
didn't they put Paper Thin Hymn?
That was on Never Take Friendship Personal.
Didn't they put that on 3 other albums?
Nope. And that may have been on Lost Songs, but that was their greatest hits album.
I hate one band.
I know.
It bothers me.
But to finish that story, 2008 with New Surrender was actually Universal. That was their major label debut,
gotcha.
And it was kind of well, should we re-record it for this? Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. And then they did.
Funny story with this album. I'm pretty sure I got this album from a youth group pastor.
Probably. They were playing Purple Door and things like that at this time, but and it is 2 different versions. It's not the same exact recording on both. In the Never Take Friendship Personal version, Steven actually screams in the bridge, whereas it's sang on this on New Surrender.
Little differences.
I gotta look up this damn label now.
Yeah, this was during a time where it was cool to go to youth group and be a Christian kind of thing. It was when Christian metal and stuff was popular in the scene that we were in. So it was, plus one of the venues that we all went to at the time was the Bomb Shelter, which was a church, but that was the cool thing to do. So
Well, and by cool, I mean I don't think it ever stopped being cool. I think
Well,
that
it
it
was
was
like a
like the
big,
hip thing to do. It was the
yeah,
like
yeah.
in thing to do.
Yeah.
But curiously enough, I didn't arrive at the answer I expected. To your point, Never Take Friendship Personal was released on Capital Christian Music Group.
Interesting. The last album, Jamie Johnson, That Lonesome Song. Odd two choices on here, but dude, this album for a country album is such a banger. I mean, High Cost of Living, Mowing Down the Roses, Lonesome Song, Stars in Alabama, Between Jennings and Jones, The Last Cowboy, In Color. Like, dude, from front to back, this album is just too damn good. It hits all like the. He's more of like a slower country singer. He has a pretty deep voice, more like steel slide guitar. Like he's so good,
He
and
is
he
good.
definitely doesn't look what I thought he looked when I saw him live. Like, well, didn't see him live, but I saw a live performance. And I was like, that's not what I expected this dude to look like. I think out of these albums, I think the choice for me, honestly, is Jamie Johnson. Yeah.
The choice for me is definitely Anne Boleyn. I saw them immediately following in 2009, so, supporting this release. And they opened with The Resistance. And as soon as they started playing, I was glued. Like, I was like,
I mean, that is your favorite band, isn't it?
It is. But it wasn't until then. Like, that show is what changed it. So
did I know you?
2009 is probably right around when you met me.
Probably, yeah.
And I also have to be honest, I'm like really perplexed by this because I was fairly certain that they were like Equal Vision or like one of those post-hardcore labels, and this is really throwing me for a frickin' loop.
You're the kind of person that's not gonna stop until you find an answer.
Tooth and Nail. They were on Tooth and Nail, right? Yes. It says they were on Tooth and Nail. And that's where I'm like, okay.
Well, that was like
Tooth and Nail is distributed by Capitol. That's where it goes. So I wonder why Tooth and Nail didn't get the credit. I hope I didn't open a can of worms. Yeah, my vote's for New Surrender because of that and because I couldn't vote for Cities in 2007 and my daughter is named for one of the songs off of Cities. So, because I love you, this is my choice. She's totally named for bands. You probably don't even know that.
What?
Her middle name is actually because of another band.
You'll have to tell me then, because I don't think I know that. 2009. There's a plethora of weird stuff on here for honorable mentions, but I had to throw them in there. The first one, Asher Roth, Asleep in the Bread Aisle. That was the dude that did the song I Love College. That song that was huge at the time. So I actually went and I listened to his album that was on. It's actually pretty decent. Like, I wouldn't listen to it from front to back, but it's definitely like I think he deserved a little more credit than the I Love College song.
All right, we're getting into that age of music where we start to think William Hung is good.
Tech Nine, Psychology 101. My friend Andrew got this album. I don't know why, and I don't know how, and I don't know for what reason. But we listened to this album so much, and it was what introduced me to Tech Nine, and he is insane.
These are honorable mentions, right?
Yes, these are honorable mentions.
You can continue.
The last honorable mention, Steel Panther. Feel the Steel. Please tell me you know Steel Panther.
I know Steel Panther.
Dude, if you haven't heard Steel Panther, listen to this album and leave a comment down below and let me know how much it made you laugh or how much it grossed you out. One of the two.
I'm literally 2 minutes from excusing myself.
Out of all the bands that are just like in that like comedy genre, how would you not enjoy Steel Panther?
Dude, say anything.
What? What about the band Say Anything?
Yeah.
I hate that band.
But that's a comedy band.
Yeah, but they're stupid. Steel Panther's much better. They talk about glory holes and hookers.
That there are people in the world annoyed with all the other people in the world.
All right. Top 4.
Which is clearly you at the moment.
Top 4. A Day to Remember, Homesick. Downfall of Us All, which I can't even listen to that song anymore. I get so annoyed. I'm Made of Wax, Larry. What Are You Made Of? New Jersey Legion, Ice-T. Have Faith in Me, Homesick. If It Means a Lot to You, like.
Isn't one of those songs about Robin Williams?
I have not a clue.
Yeah, Robin Williams is the guy who I'm Made of Wax, Larry. What are you made of? Isn't it from Night at the Museum? The song title is a line.
I know what you mean now. Yeah,
where he's like talking to the little boy.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
I'm made of wax, Larry.
Like from front to back, I've seen parts of it.
What are you made of?
This album was huge when it came out, and it was another one of those. It's and
still is
solid album, and yeah, it still holds up. Number 2 is Eminem's Relapse. So this was the first album he released in, I think, 8 years when he came back. And it was one of those albums that was just like, when it came out, it was huge. Because not only was it the first Eminem album in, like, I think it was 8 years, but he came back and, like, did the classic Eminem, like... He did, like, the accents.
Like Eminem should have?
Yeah. So that had, like, 3 a.m. You remember that song? My Mom, We Made You, that song, Beautiful. Like, those were, like, the huge songs from that album. And I remember when this album came out, I remember talking about it with my brother when we were up at the cabin on a Memorial Day weekend. Actually... that may have been the last time that we went up to the cabin as a family before my dad passed away. Because I remember talking to my brother about that album in the back room of the cabin.
And now the root of the memories come through.
It is so crazy how there are some things that just put you, like, you can just vision it perfectly of just where you were at and stuff like that. That's wild. That didn't even, like, hit me until right now. The Used, Artwork. This album, I didn't really listen to this album too much during this time. This album came later for me because I kind of stopped listening to The Used after there because, like, I would listen to a song and be like, whatever, it doesn't capture me. But this album's really good. I mean, Burt McCracken just has a way with words and, like, the way that they write their music, it just pulls you in. Just get, like...
We're in 2009?
Yeah, this is 2009.
Oh.
So, Blood on My Hands, Empty With You, Kissing You Goodbye, like, those three songs are... Whew,
I don't think I've actually heard that album.
They'll punch you in the face, and they'll punch you hard.
I don't know if I want to.
It's really good. And then the last one is Breaking Benjamin, Dear Agony.
It's a pretty good album. I mean...
I Will Not Bow, Dear Agony, Without You, Giving Me a Sign. Like, Breaking Benjamin at this time was just ripping. They were... Well, I guess I shouldn't say they're an underappreciated band because they are huge. Especially at this time. But, like...
But even for that size, I think they're underappreciated.
Yeah, I think they should be probably a little bit bigger than they are.
What was the first album?
A Day to Remember Homesick.
That's what I thought.
So I think for me, it's gonna have to be Homesick.
I still listen to The Downfall of Us All in my car.
Every time that song comes on, I turn it. I can't stand that song now. Yeah, you crank
it. I mean, that's just timeless.
I just skip it. Skip it.
That, it's timeless. But you can skip it all you want. I know that there are going to be people that agree with me. And
well, yeah, yeah.
That's my vote.
It's one of those songs that transcended the genre of the music, and like you could go. It's the same thing we talked about last week, where you can literally go into a club and just play this, and everyone's gonna be like, and the let's go. It's.
I'm fairly certain now, given as far as we've gotten, that we missed a huge one.
What did we miss?
I don't remember exactly which year it came out.
Just tell me the album.
Louder Now.
I probably saw it, but I want to tell you that I am not a big Taking Back Sunday fan. And
that album was like
awful.
Defining. Make Damn Sure was the title single.
I hate that song.
You might, but the rest of the world is like, song. Oh!
I don't care about the rest of the world.
Do you know how many musical boners exist in the world from Make Damn Sure?
I hate
and that video, so much. And the way that he swings the mic, and it's so simple.
Dude, I remember.
I actually have a good friend
Niles, when we were playing in Burning November / As Daylight Dies, whenever we made the transition.
/ the other 15
He
years,
always wanted to swing his microphone like that. But yeah, I purposely left that off because I don't like that album, and I don't really care. The only Taking Back Sunday album I like is Tell All Your Friends. That's it.
I have a good friend who is actually Adam Lazar's neighbor.
Interesting. Ready for the last year? Well, at least for this week. 2010. We're coming up on the end of the music segment here. Kind of. Sort of.
No.
2010. Not many good ones. There's no honorable mentions. Actually, no. Sorry, there is one. Story of the Year is The Constant. This was another...
That's honorable?
It's honorable, yeah.
It's honorable that they recorded it.
It was better than The Black Swan, maybe? Might be stretching it there. Ghost of You, I'm Alive, 10 Years Down. This was a really depressing album, if you know the backstory about this album. I listened to the Page Avenue Crew's podcast. They were doing a podcast during COVID, just the band. They were talking about different points in their careers and band stories and recording stories and stuff like this, and they were talking about this album. And basically, they wrote this album as a, like, we've had better days, but I think this is it. Because, like, 10 years down, like, I think this is when they were, like, about 10 years as a band, and how, like, they at once were huge, and now they're just scratching and clawing for anything.
So as a band, if you are consistently performing singles that you released at the beginning of your career, like all the stuff people want to hear is from the beginning,
mm-hmm.
At which point do you start to rank yourself amongst cover bands? Not saying that that's them.
Yeah.
Because I think they have some good stuff.
They've really turned themselves around.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, I saw them last summer. I mean,
dude,
the show is still insane.
Yeah, they know how to put on a live show. I'll tell you that.
I wish they would bring back a second guitarist, because he thinks he can actually articulate all the parts on his own. But I'm sorry, it just doesn't have the depth. It's not the same.
I haven't seen him since they got rid of Phil.
He's very good, but it's not the same.
But from what I've seen, it sounds fine to me. But. Maybe I'll see them when they're in Baltimore.
Well, you're also a fanboy.
I am. They're my favorite band. So the top 4, The Wonder Years, The Upsides.
Ooh.
This...
Introducing a new era.
Yeah. This band was a huge thing in the scene when we were. This is right around the time I was in With Pride, I think. No. Maybe?
Probably, because 2010 is when I met Connor from Rosie Lakes Road.
I don't remember. But I remember everyone loved the Wonder Years, and like at the time, I'm going to be honest, I didn't get it. It made no sense to me. I got some of the songs, but then some of the songs just sound like mad rambling over just random music. It's like it was more like
it's
just
like the mumble
fitting
rap.
as many words as you could fit in the rhythm before it transitioned.
It's like the mumble rap version of pop punk.
But honestly, like this album, My Last Semester, Logan Circle, New Year's Eve with Carl Weathers, Melrose Diner, This Party Sucks, like I wouldn't listen to it from front to back because at some point I just get tired of his voice. But when I listen to it and I'm in the mood to listen to it, I'm in the mood to listen to it, and it's good.
He can sing, though.
He can, yeah.
But he doesn't.
Plus, also, I saw them when I saw Third Eye Blind. They played. And their live show he sounds incredible live.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I like started to appreciate them as a band when I heard them, because I was like, I don't remember them sounding this good. So I think I went back and listened to it. The next album, Circa Survive, Blue Sky Noise. This was another just banger from Circa Survive. Get Out, I Felt Free, Imaginary Enemy, Frozen Creek. This I listened to a lot. When I worked at CC's, there was one of the cooks, Ben, would work prep with me in the mornings, and he was a big Circa Survive fan, big Anthony Green fan. So he would put this album on all the time, and we would listen to it. And then when they created that like power group with Craig Owens, Adam Russell, Matt Good, and someone else, I'm drawing a blank. It was like Craig Owens from Cheetos, Matt Good from Matchbook Romance.
I think so.
Adam Russell from Story of the Year, and then there was one other. I think it was a member of Thursday. Could be wrong. They made that band. It was called Drugs. It was Destroy, Rebuild Until God Shows. When they released that album, we listened to that a lot too. But this album from Circa Survive is so good.
It's on point.
Number 3 is Eminem's Recovery. This one was pretty popular when it came out because it had a lot of bangers. There's like 2 songs on here that have over 2 billion plays.
So at which point do we start acknowledging that people are touching it not because it's good, but because he is a diamond? Like, literally, it has nothing to do with the music at this point for that man.
Yeah.
He could literally put out an album that was nothing but 58 minutes of him excreting waste into a toilet and the different ways that he grunts, and people would buy it.
I think this album was like the part where he just started to write music that he wanted to write, and he had something to prove. He had like a chip on his shoulder.
He's always had a chip on his shoulder.
Yes, but like
he lives with.
He
a chip
had
on
those
his
drug
fucking
years
shoulder.
where he was just like, I'm just throwing stuff out. I'm just gonna make the most ridiculous stuff. Just, but then like this is when he started to like really change as like an artist, and kind of take everything a little more like seriously.
Well, I mean,
because he always did have that like comedy aspect to his music, or like that little joking side, or like saying outlandish stuff that just kind of was like, what did he just say? Like,
at what point do you think somebody actually looked at him and was like, hey, Marshall, you're turning into your mother. lay it off.
So this album was the one that had Not Afraid, Love the Way You Lie, Spacebound, which I think might be my favorite song from this album, So Bad, and No Love. Huge album.
You're getting really excited about this album.
It's not my choice.
I'm gonna have to ask you to flatten the brim of your hat.
I used to wear fitted hats. The last one is A Day to Remember, yet again. What Separates Me From You. This was, I think, the last album that I really enjoyed from them, and this one took a little bit to kind of get into my brain and kind of accept it. So this had Sticks and Bricks, All I Want, which that song was huge. Second Sucks, All Signs Point to Lauderdale. I think there was one, it was like something Sonic and Tails or something.
I'll be Sonic, you be Tails.
That's it, yeah.
My vote's A Day to Remember. Dude, All Signs Point to Lauderdale hits so hard. I hate this town. It's so fucked up.
Yeah.
It was so washed up, and all my friends don't give a fuck. It just hits home.
I don't know. I think I'm going to have to choose... I want to choose Circa Survive, but I think, like, if I listen to that album, like, eventually, like, Anthony Green's high-pitched voice just kind of gets annoying, so I would turn it off. So I think longevity-wise, I think I'd probably have to choose Recovery.
See, for me, like, the Circa Survive album was good, but I like older Circa Survive, so that's not even on my radar. My, like, hard time was between Wonder Years and A Day to Remember. I think Wonder Years was like, that was really their burst onto the scene, and I think it was great for music and great for them and great for all, you know, the listeners, but A Day to Remember just killed it. Like, they just took it, and that Eminem album, I really need you to flatten the brim of your hat.
Dude,
and pull your pants down around your ankles.
Like, a buddy of mine texted me and was saying about how, like, he was listening to, like, the album segments, and he's like, I don't think I've heard, like, it was the last segment we did last week, and he was like, I don't think I've heard, like, a majority of those albums, and his music tastes are, like, kind of weird, as in like, where he kind of, like, touches on everything. Like, he'll listen to a little bit of everything.
So he's one of those awkward people.
So
do I know this guy?
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do I want to?
He's a good dude. Good dude.
Think we'll get along?
Yeah. If you can't get along with this dude, then
no, that's not what I mean.
You've got a problem.
I mean, do you think we'll be fast friends?
No. Not that. No. He definitely don't play that shit. So the next topic, I'm going to hit you with one that probably you're just going to be like, why are we talking about this? Because I don't have anything. Trading card games. So aside from video games, I've played many trading card games over the years. Well, I guess not many, but the big three.
You've played 3.
I've played the big... Well, no, I played Final Fantasy for like a hot second, and
That was a card game?
Yeah. It's... Well, I think it is relatively new.
You realize that by introducing this topic, A, it is like PTSD for me, but B, it's literally going to be the roast of you.
I've gotten roasted for trading card games plenty of times. So I'll start it off.
What's
here,
one
Andy.
more?
I'll start it off. So back, obviously, when I was a kid, I played Pokemon, like every kid back then. Like, everybody played Pokemon. That was the thing to play. You didn't play Pokemon.
This is going to sound horrible. I didn't really have any friends to play with.
This is at a point where I had friends to play with for once.
I definitely had no friends.
So, me and my friends, like, we would play Pokemon a lot. That was pretty popular. Me and my friend Brent, me and my friend Andrew. Those were like the two main ones that I played with. But vivid memories for me with like the Pokemon trading card game is when I was in 4th grade. they had like a ban that you couldn't bring your cards to school because everybody was trading, and then people's parents were getting mad that they traded these like super valuable cards.
Well, dude, people were like trading a Charizard for a freaking Togepi, and it was like, I want that because it's a cute little egg.
Yeah, like
Idiot.
it was a big deal, and it became a huge problem at school. So they put a ban on that you couldn't bring cards to school. And I remember because in 4th grade I got hit by a car. So
Where's the camera today? I keep looking that way. You moved it on me.
I did move it.
Did you get the plate number?
The guy that hit me actually came to visit me when I got back when I was out of the hospital. So when I got hit by a car, I remember waking up in the hospital room, and my family was at the foot of my bed, and like I barely knew what happened from the moment that I got wheeled into the hospital. They, put anesthesia or whatever, and they were telling me that I was going to go to sleep, and they had to reset my leg because I broke my leg. And I remember telling them, like, no, I'm not going to go to sleep, and they gave me like a warm heated blanket, and then out. And I woke up, and when I woke up, like one of my eyes was swollen shut, so I couldn't open it. But I remember waking up, and my family was there, and they're kind of emotional because their brother and son just got hit by a car.
Who'd have thought?
So I remember my sister got me a bunch of packs of Pokemon cards. She got this was when base set was a thing, like the set to buy. So it was base set. She got me this. It was a like card dispenser, so you could put your deck in this like plastic box, and when you hit this switch, it would pop out a card. So that was pretty cool. She got me it was a talking Pikachu. Like you could squeeze it, and like his cheeks would light up red and stuff like that. His tail would wag.
That too.
And
cool.
In those, I remember opening those packs of cards, and I got like I got a Blastoise, I got a Chansey, I think I got a Venusaur. Like I got good cards that I was like, hell yeah. So when I got home, none of my friends wanted to come see me because I looked a mess, dude. My face was all jacked up.
Just real quick, kind of paint the picture a little better for me. Could you use your hands?
Yes. Yeah.
How in the fuck did you break your leg, fuck up your face, and the middle part of your body is spared?
So the leg break happened because it was this leg, and I was walking this way. Car was coming this way.
Oh God!
So it hit me at this point.
Yep.
So that's when leg break happened.
Oh, I feel sick.
I remember vividly flying through the air, hitting the blacktop, and sliding across the blacktop. So when I slid on the blacktop, that scar that I have right there,
that's how you got that.
That's from sliding on the blacktop.
I always thought Alicia pulled a knife on you.
Yeah, it ground so much tissue, like there was no like tissue there.
I'm sorry.
So I remember crawling to the side of the street. I remember rolling over. I remember feeling my leg like it was numb.
Stop. Do not use the word flop.
And the guy that was like our neighbor ran over, and he was looking at me. And I remember seeing my reflection in his glasses, and I could see like blood on my face and like stuff like that. Like, and I was really tired, and he was like, the ambulance is on his way and blah, blah. So I remember that vividly. So like when I got home, like I was still pretty jacked up, but like this was all jacked up. I have a scar like here that's you can barely see, that was from sliding across the ground, like the ground. My one eye was pretty jacked up.
What year was this?
I was in 4th grade, so how old are you when you're in 4th grade?
8 or 9.
So if I was 8,
it would have been the year 2000.
No.
Or right before.
It would have been 98.
98? Okay.
98 or 99.
Did the car stop?
Yeah, they actually had to take the guy. This is turning in from trading card game to my hit by a car story.
No, I just want to articulate something real quick.
No, the guy that hit me, he was an old guy.
Right.
And they had to, when the ambulance and stuff came, they had to actually put him in an ambulance to give him oxygen because he was that shaken up.
But he made sure you were okay.
I think I don't
as best he could.
I mean,
know. Like he was still there.
I think after the initial like hit me, I flew across. Like the guy that was across the street came rushing over to check on me, and I was kind of in and out during that part. But he, like, the guy that hit me, I'm pretty sure he was like an elderly man.
The point I'm trying to make is that it wasn't a hit and run.
No, he was stuck there, and he was basically like having a full-blown panic attack.
And to that point, don't fucking hit and run, people. Like,
yeah,
be like this man. Don't, like...
He was having full-blown panic attack. They had to take him into the ambulance to give him oxygen. He did... I don't remember seeing him, but I remember he, like, either sent something to the house or, like, stopped by the house to... He might have... maybe I just kind of unlocked a memory there. I think maybe he did come and see me when I was at the house because... Actually, no. This might have been around the year 2000 because I think it might have been 99 because I remember when I was like recovering and stuff after getting back from the hospital. I was in my parents' living room, and the only person that came to see me was my neighbor across the street. Her name was Sarita. She was like a Spanish girl. Me and her were like best friends back in the day. And Andrew, my neighbor, because he is just a good dude. And I remember him coming over, and we were trading Pokemon cards and stuff on the couch. And then when I got like more comfortable, I moved to my dad's recliner because then he couldn't sit in the living room like he usually did. And I played, I had my N64 connected to the big screen TV, and I got to play WrestleMania 2000. So I remember that pretty vividly. But yeah, like back to like Pokemon and stuff, like that I correlate the Pokemon trading card game with that part of my life where like I got hit by a car, I was on the mend from getting hit by a car. Playing with my friends, having those like weird, like they were almost like marbles that you cut in half. They were like the damage counters that you would get. They would come in like the starter decks and stuff, and that's how you would count the damage. Now it's just like 10, 20s, 30s, and 40s, like punch out things from cardboard. But I
mean, or we could just teach people how to do math. But.
yeah. And shortly after that, when I was kind of in like my preteens, I think before then, I started to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because that was a popular show when it came out, and I actually went back and rewatched the cartoon.
Show.
The show. When I watched the show,
should not have been a trading card game,
dude. Okay, so
show.
I watched the show.
Same thing with Pokemon. Wait, wasn't that a game first?
The Pokemon trading card game is fun.
I thought the game. Was it a game or a show first? What came first, the chicken or the egg?
I think it was probably a show first, and then I think it was a show for like a very short period of time beforehand. But it could be opposite. It could have been games, like the video games first, then the cartoon. I think it might have all just been just all at once. But the trading
Spitfire answer. Who's your favorite Pokemon character?
Like character
That's
or
not
like
an answer.
Favorite Pokemon?
Character.
Like person from the show?
Oh, you like Brock, don't you?
No. I think I'm
Professor Oak?
Professor Oak is pretty cool.
I like Misty.
You just like to watch all the OnlyFans girls cosplay as Misty.
I haven't been able to find any of those.
They're everywhere. Google it. Google Misty cosplay and have yourself
I don't know that I want that in my search history.
My favorite character, I always liked Lieutenant Surge or Blaine, the gym leaders. Um, but yeah, like I played Yu-Gi-Oh for a very short period of time because I watched the show and I just rewatched the show. And
He's gonna play Yu-Gi-Oh again. Watch out.
The show is very corny, but it does tap into a nostalgia where I'm like, oh my god, I remember this.
Do you have any Yu-Gi-Oh cards currently?
There's some back there.
How many?
It's not many.
Do you have a fireplace?
Hey now. So me and my friends used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, like amongst ourselves, but honestly, I don't think we played it correctly. We just kind of just tried to imitate the show. I don't know how a thing about how to build a Yu-Gi-Oh deck or how to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I have zero clue to this day on how to actually play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Same situation with most adults in poker. Except you can make money at that.
So I think if I'm remembering, Yu-Gi-Oh came like kind of like alongside when I played Pokemon. So like it was kind of like we kind of did it kind of at the same time. Then in my early like teen years when I was like trying to be hip and cool, I picked up Magic. And I played Magic with my one of the people that I don't want to say babysitter because I wasn't like a child, but I was like an adolescent, I think is the correct term, where like I couldn't be trusted to be on my own, but I was right there.
I mean, the jury's still out on that, so.
So I remember playing Magic, funny enough, when he would come over and we would hang out, we'd play Magic, and his friend, which is actually Niles' brother, we would play over my mom's speakerphone. So it would be me and him at the table, we'd be playing, and then we'd have him on the speakerphone playing. And I think back then I played Magic correctly. Probably not too, like back then it was not what it is now, where it's literally the most complex game in existence.
Dude,
in terms of like knowledge and planning and strategy, like it is the most complex game.
Dungeons and Dragons.
That's not even the same realm. That's not even a game. Well, it's a game, but it's not. It's like it's more of an experience.
Not just a card game. Okay, so we're now we're articulating games as experiences.
No,
this is
I will
elaborate
on that. I will elaborate on that. So I played Magic heavily in my like mid 20s, I want to say, or maybe late 20s.
Okay,
heavily, like competitively. We would go to the convention centers for tournaments. We traveled to Charlotte, North Carolina, like heavily. And like I still play Magic, like not competitively anymore, but like I still have that competitive mindset when I play. Like I can't just sit down and be like, I'm gonna brew a deck out of these cards. Like I can't ever do that.
So
I have to play like meta deck.
I'm just going to articulate my entire thoughts about this thing very quickly, and then you can continue.
I'm carrying this conversation, I'm aware, but
I think Pokemon is cool.
It's the thing about Pokemon, like, because we did actually, like, the group that I would play Magic with, it was my boss and some of the guys that we have met through playing Magic at the local shops. We were kind of getting to the point with Magic where it was kind of like the formats were kind of bad. Like there was certain decks that were just, if you weren't playing those decks, you weren't going to win.
My extent with Magic is that I bought that starter kit to play with you like years ago. Never happened. And I wound up just giving it to you. So, you know, I think Magic is cool too. You know, it's one of those things. But Yu-Gi-Oh!
We'll have to sit down and play some Magic.
I'm going to take a rain check on that. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Ouch.
I am going to hit on Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm going to revisit a concept that I presented a couple weeks ago that somebody told me they thought was really great. I think that with Yu-Gi-Oh! Any deck that you get should come with a disclaimer. Should be a little card on the front that says, "Are you a little bitch? If not, return this product to the retailer."
No.
And off you go.
This was a running joke at the shop that we used to go to because it had some Yu-Gi-Oh players and it had us, the Magic players. The disclaimer should say, like, do you take showers on the regular? If no, this is the game for you. If yes, you can't play this game now.
Nah, dude. That's a prerequisite to playing Yu-Gi-Oh! You have to shut off the water in your house.
Yeah.
And take, like, a biblical vow against soaps, shampoos, conditioners, and any product that will make you look anywhere near
presentable,
manicured.
I mean, some Magic players are not the best either. But
what is it with that?
I don't know.
How is that, like, the two aren't mutually exclusive?
I've been to some tournaments and just the people I've sat across from, I've just been like, hey, man, when was are you trying to, like, make me leave the table purposely so that I just sign my paper and hand you the win? Because you're pretty close.
I think we need to do a social experiment this summer. I think you and me need to pick a go date, like the date that we record the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Start and see how far we go without bodily contact of water.
I work outside, dude.
Sorry, guess you're gonna lose. I mean,
I would lose instantly. And I also just don't want to do that.
Nah, man. Social experiment. How long can you go before somebody's like, ugh?
So back to Magic. I still play, like, with a competitive mindset. It's just ingrained with me because I've been doing it for so long. But at this point now, I have kind of like a love-hate relationship with Magic. Like, once you get past, like, the try-hard stage, you get to the stage where, like, you absolutely love playing Magic, and then you despise playing Magic after you've played it for a bit, and then you're like, I'm going to take a break.
I'm really
and then
confused.
You come back to playing Magic.
I'm really lost. Are you using Magic as a metaphor for your relationship with your wife? The love-hate, the like, oh, I love playing Magic, oh, I hate Magic. No, I know you and Alicia are good.
It's like you play it heavily, and then, like, the metagame starts to settle, and then you're like, okay. And then, like, when it gets shaken up again and you get to play, like, certain things, you're like, this is great. And then the metagame settles, and you're like, all right, this sucks again. But then there's, like, if you find the right people to play with, like, it really does, like, make it so much fun. Because there's so many ways you can play it. You can play Commander, you can play Pauper, you can play draft. You can draft. You can play Pioneer. You can play Legacy. You can play Modern. You can play Standard. Like, there's so many different ways to play the game, and that's not even all of them. That's just, like, the main ones.
What? I understand that those are ways to play the game. I have no idea what any of those articulates to in actually playing a game.
Don't
tell me. Please don't tell me.
I'm going to elaborate.
They know.
No,
you know. I don't need to know.
It's very brief. Commander is just, you have a card that's a legendary creature, and it's in certain colors. Your deck can only be one-ofs, and it has to be 99 cards. So they're all singletons, and lands, instants, sorceries, enchantments, creatures, like 99 cards.
This entire segment, you better put that emoji with the spiral eyes right over my face.
All the other formats that I listed is all 60-card decks with 15-card sideboards, where Pauper is all commons. You can't play any other rarities, which is a interesting way to play Magic because normally, like when you're looking at a card, like the more the rarity goes up, the more powerful, the more power level you get. But when you play Pauper, like certain combinations of cards allow you to do like kind of like mirrored things that you get to do in these other more power level formats that allow like rares and mythics. So Pauper is like I would recommend people starting with Pauper, like when they're learning to play Magic, like learning how to play Pauper, because like it's very basic, but you get to do fun things that you get to do in other formats, like with other combos and like different things like that. Like it's a fun way to like learn how to play because it's you also get to play with cards that you normally wouldn't get to play with. Legacy is like the power level on that format is ridiculous. The cost also is astronomical. It used to be really fun to play. Like that was like the format that we were all like, yeah, let's play Legacy because we're cool. But it turned into just, if you're not playing this deck, you're probably going to lose. Or if you don't win on turn one, then you lose. It's atrocious at this point. It's not fun. Modern is it ranges from I think 5th edition all the way to current. So from 5th edition, the set, all the way to current cards. That's your card pool that you can build your decks from. The metagame pretty much it's been the same for a while. That's a format where like if you're serious about playing Magic, Modern's probably where you want to be. I think in my opinion, it's the most competitive format. It's the most fun format to play, like in terms of the things that you get to do, the combos that you get to do. Like it's just fun. And it's like, I wouldn't say it's balanced because it's not, but it's the format that gets balanced the most when they take a look at it and they're like, what cards should we ban? What cards are causing way too much mayhem? Because usually they'll print cards in the new set, and when that new set comes out, one of those cards just breaks the format. It's just this card combos with this card from way back when, and for some reason, when you just play them together, they just do stupid things that they didn't anticipate. So then they have to go and ban it. Standard is like a couple of sets from like most recent sets. It's a fun way to play because it's a more of like a, I'm doing this big thing, you're doing your big thing, we're just gonna slug it out. So it's fun in that degree, but it's pointless because once those older sets in the format rotate out, when new sets come out, the old couple of sets rotate out of Standard. You have to keep up with it, and it's just so expensive. So it just doesn't make sense.
Well, and I thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
I'm going to follow that up by saying I think I'd have a better chance at assembling a couch from IKEA with only instructions in Chinese.
I think the person that you are, the way that your brain works, I think that you would probably enjoy playing Magic. I really honestly do.
Probably. That's why I originally bought the starter set, but honestly, after all that, I have not the patience to try it.
I think there's going to be a day where we sit down and we're just going to hang out. We're just going to try it. We're just going to teach you how to play Magic.
You better have a lot of beer.
So
and maybe some other stuff.
So I have a soft
Pez.
spot. I have
Pez? Do you have Pez?
I haven't had a Pez in a long time.
What was your favorite Pez dispenser as a kid?
Probably the Star Wars ones.
Really?
Was there a correct answer or what? Were you looking for a
No,
specific answer?
I don't think there was a correct answer to that. I think there's a correct answer to what flavor Pez
Orange.
is. I like strawberry.
Yes. I don't. Orange is my like. Ever since I was a kid, orange flavor stuff is just.
Pez has gotten harder and harder to find. I think they need to bring in a lime flavor.
That would probably be pretty good.
That would be banging.
I have
a hedgehog dispenser, not a Sonic, a regular hedgehog.
I have a soft spot for trading card games.
We're still on that.
Yes, I'm
okay.
closing out. I'm closing it out, Andy. I have a soft spot for card games. I have, like, especially with Magic, that's like my go-to. Pokemon is interesting and it's fun, but I don't think I could like sit down and play it for an extended period of time. Just because like it's I feel ridiculous. Even for my nerdy ass.
It's a child's game.
My nerd, like, I am nerd to the core, but I feel weird playing like Pokemon the card game. I don't feel weird playing Pokemon as like a Game Boy game or N64 or Switch or anything like that. I don't feel weird playing those, but I do feel weird sitting down with Pokemon cards. I would like to get some to display in the game room, but that's about the extent of it. Well, now that I've lost Andy on that one,
I'm still here.
Here's one we can discuss.
Uh-oh.
Is it cool to be a nerd now versus like when we were kids or when we were in our teens? Like, if you were a nerd, like, you were made fun of a lot. But now it seems to be more accepting and like kind of like that's the way that you want to be. Like,
I think that's because when you grow up and realize what money is and see all these nerds making six figures a year because they have good jobs, it's like, oh wait. No, I mean I think that's a lot of generalization and stereotyping right there. I think that, I think it's actually harder to be considered a nerd today, because more of the stuff that was perceived or stereotyped as nerdy 10, 20, 30 years ago is not as heavily marginalized today. Like video games. Back then,
yeah.
If you sat in an arcade for 4 hours on a Saturday, it was like,
nerd.
What's up, geek?
Yeah. Or like you sat in, like, they're like, what'd you do this weekend? You were like, sat and played N64. They're like, nerd.
Exactly. And then you have, today, everybody, kids, it's commonplace. It's expected.
Video games have definitely, like, transcended their place in, like, nerd culture. Like, it's video games now, like, are definitely part of pop culture. Yeah, like, everybody has a game system of some sort. Everybody plays games to some extent, whether it's sports games, racing games, RPGs, open worlds, or, they just play what's popular, what the streamers are playing. They're playing shooters, whatever they're playing, or they're just playing a little bit of everything. Like, everybody to some extent is probably playing games. What they are, or whether they're revisiting games from their childhood, whatever they're doing, like, if you play video games nowadays, no one's going to call you a nerd.
Right.
Even the games that you choose to play, like, if you're a big RPG lover, like, there's going to be a dude that is like the quarterback of your football team, and he's going to be like, yeah, I play RPGs too.
Let's not get into saving graces here. Like, RPGs are reserved for a special type of people.
Not anymore.
No, that group is growing, but they're still a special type of people.
They're definitely working their way into, like, the mainstream.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say an RPG is a mainstream game. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that there's still a lot of people out there who don't want to do that.
Well, it's a big time commitment.
Yeah.
And you can't really play RPGs with your friends unless you're playing, like, MMOs.
But in keeping with the initial thought, let's articulate another avenue for nerd versus not nerd, and changing the definition, not so much as saying, or is it okay now? 1988, you're in front of a computer. You're doing
Nerd.
one of two things. Exactly. Like it's like, oh, you freaking nerd.
Yeah.
Because he's either like typing something up for word processing, which they didn't really have a whole lot of that in the 80s, or he's coding it to build a program.
Yeah.
And
he's probably pushing his glasses up like this. And
and then they got the tape on them. Right. How many people can go a day to day without touching a computer? Your phone is a type of computer.
Oh, yeah. Like,
thank you.
Yeah, computers are a must nowadays.
If that was it, if that was defining of a nerd, then if you're gonna just carry that definition and that stereotype forward,
we're all nerds.
100% of society.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's really so much that it's more accepted today, or maybe it is because it's so commonplace.
I think I don't have a kid that's in school where they're going to start making fun of you for what you're into.
Oh, dude, my daughter's a total nerd. She is such a nerd.
But I think the things that they're making fun of you in school for now are more targeted. It's not about what you're into. It's about mainly nowadays, I think it's more about what you look like, what you wear. Stuff you say, just things that they can just point out.
I would have to largely disagree. I think that the problem with that nowadays is that there literally can be no foundation for it.
Well, yeah, that's...
Because, fifth graders. Dude, you're gay. Dude hasn't even figured out what gay is yet.
Yeah.
But it's already got a negative connotation.
We're going straight
tied to it.
Here.
It's already got a negative connotation tied to it amongst the adolescents in a lot of places, which shouldn't be the case to begin with.
So, I'm taking it back to when I was in school. That was a thing that you would get made fun of. If you wore jeans that were a little tighter than the average, they'd be like, "Oh, you're gay." It was always you're gay, but they chose other words to say.
Oh, no, I mean,
some more harsh words.
Yeah,
now, but
we're not going to drop those.
No, but to my point, you could react two ways. It either affected you and it put you down, or you were just okay, cool.
Yep.
You just kind of brushed it off, and just every time the person would say it, you just didn't give them a response. And eventually they would stop because they weren't getting a reaction, or they found something else.
Maybe. I mean, I've actually had it go both ways. I've had situations where, and I say this in the first person because I've lived it myself as a child.
I was made fun of too, and especially in middle school and high school.
Yeah, high school wasn't that bad for me.
High school was the worst. But I was in that group that people would make fun of.
Right.
I was the skater kid. I was the kid that was playing in bands. I had longer hair.
Which, oddly enough,
I was a chubbier guy.
That wasn't really a target.
It was just recipe for everything when I was in there.
No, I get that.
I didn't dress cool.
But I see it in schools today, too, which is why I'm, using first person, because I do volunteer in school.
I'm disconnected from that. You're more connected to that because your daughter's much older than mine.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm getting ready to
It's on my radar, for sure, but...
I'm getting ready to go into the school for 6 days here at the end of the month to do junior achievement. So I'll really know exactly how everything's going then. But, it's one of those things where it's you can brush it off, and I think it's a 50-50 shot on whether they say, oh, I didn't get a reaction, you don't buy into it, it doesn't perpetuate the energy. Or they keep going and going and going and going and going.
Because you got to think of, people that are making fun of somebody for, something like the way that they dress, the way that they look, or the things that they're into, like, it's a matter of they're just taking out their frustrations because their home life isn't great, and that's just the way that they choose to expel that energy, or they're projecting because they don't want people to know that those things are what they're into, but nobody knows that, so they're like considered the cool crowd. Because like there was those kids in my school where they would make fun of me for being a skater or because I played video games and stuff, and I'm like, dude, I know your gamer tag. I look at the games that you're playing. You're playing way nerdier games than I am. Like, what?
Well, and I think that also brings to light, it could be either of those, or it could also be what's glaring you straight in the face, and it's like, have their parents really not taken the time with them to help them understand that this is wrong?
That's going to be a big problem with...
You're going to deal with that more than I do.
Yes, because now parents can't be parents. Oh,
sure they can.
Well, they can, but
they don't.
There are some, like, you have to give people the benefit of the doubt to a degree, is life has gotten so expensive and things are just not stopping. They're just continuing to go up and up and up and up, which means that you have to work so much more and so much harder to try and make ends meet, which you're barely getting by. You're working 120 hours, you're working, 120 hours of your pay period. That gives you very little time to check in with your kids and see how they're doing, or energy to do that. Like, there are some parents that are great parents, but they just have to work their hands to the bone to try and make their family, like, allow their family to survive.
Good people, well-intended, but absent.
Yes. But then there are people that are literally just absolute dog water parents and just don't pay attention to their kids because they would rather indulge in their other activities.
Yeah, you just throw them a phone and say, have fun.
Exactly. And they
they
grow up on the internet, which...
Don't even get me started, man.
...is terrible. But and we're also, like, deep in the age of social media, too. So, like, we're also into the I can say anything that I want about anyone that I want, and there are no immediate consequences.
Which is also not entirely true.
It is to a degree. I mean...
You have to be able to foundationally prove it. If you say something that's not able to be proven, then they can actually... It's slander.
If I wanted to make fun of you as a person, say I didn't know you, and I saw you somewhere, and I found out your name, I could go on social media, and I could message you directly and call you all sorts of names, say anything that I wanted. I could make a whole Facebook dedicated to just bashing you in any way that I wanted to.
And I could get you for harassment.
That's fine. But most of the people, are just going to be like, you want to do what?
Most people don't know that.
But the thing, like, as kids, like, if we're kids, and when we were in school, we didn't have social media, we didn't have phones at some point, where if you wanted to make fun of somebody, you either started a rumor about them or you said it to their face. And you could get one of two reactions. They could find out that you started the rumor, and then they could come up to you and just slug you in the face. Or you say it to their face, and they also slug you in the face. Like, you had to think about, okay, if I say this about this person, and they found out, and they come and they do the extreme, am I ready to defend myself, or am I ready to just strike first? Because I legitimately, for whatever reason, do not like this person, and I want to start a fight with them. Like, you had to think about all these different scenarios and all these different consequences, where if I'm just behind my computer screen, I'm not thinking about any of that. I can just go online. I can make a complete different persona and make myself Larry Hans from Delaware, and I can just start slandering this person. And
could have articulated that one a bit better. You're absolutely right. You can de-identify yourself.
Whether or not somebody takes that to heart, like, it's going to hurt as a kid no matter what.
Oh, absolutely.
And people make it an effort to, like, make full Facebook groups to make fun of people from their school just out of the blue because they can, which is a problem.
Facebook's EULA. You're not supposed to be on there until you're 13. Now, they have Messenger Kids.
Mm-hmm. Wait, they do?
Yes.
Oh, God. I didn't know that.
Facebook has a Messenger app for kids where they can talk to their friends and parents can monitor it.
I know there's different, like, I think there's, like, text apps that you can use that, like, will, I've heard it on, I think I heard it on Pixel Plus. Riff was saying about how I guess he has something for his kids where if certain keywords come up in conversation, he'll get a text to his phone.
It's called Bark.
Okay, yeah. Where, which that's great, but I feel like if you have a kid that's at the age, they can just come up with code words that don't set that off. But
it's Adelaide used to have Bark.
Mm-hmm.
I just said her name, whatever.
You've said it many times.
But, so, it's an interesting service. It is like $30 a month, which they can...
Whoa, they charge money for it?
Oh, hell yeah.
$30 a month?
But yeah, so you can get the service and put it on an iPhone or on an Android phone, or for $50 a month, $50 or $60, you can get the service and it comes with a phone. It's junk Android.
Gotcha.
I don't recommend getting the phone. But if you feel the service is necessary, then it is worth it because it looks for keywords on harassment. It looks for keywords on sexual abuse, self-harm, bullying. Like, it identifies all these things that could be identified or accepted under these terms.
Yeah.
And it looks beyond just like words. It's not like just this.
It looks at like the phrasing.
It looks at phrasing for triggers and things like that, and then it will actually immediately, like that, write to the parent. You get a text message or an alert on your app that says, "Hey, we've identified self-harm," or "Hey, we've identified bullying," and you can actually review the messages in question.
Interesting.
It is clunky.
I can imagine.
In the sense that, well, yeah, because, you have third-party integration with iPhone, almost always clunky.
Yeah.
I liked it that I could see the messages from my phone and I didn't have to go directly to her phone. So if she was at school or at her mom's house, I could address it. But also, if it's not quite necessary and you have an iPhone, you can restrict your child's phone to certain contacts. Like, if you were to text her, it would come into her phone. She would not be able to read it. It would show it's there.
That's nice.
So, in that sense...
But you can do that with just, like an iPhone in general, can't you?
Yeah. This isn't a Bark thing.
Yeah.
This is an iPhone thing. This is me saying, hey, if you really want to, have that triggering, that's nice and all, but without it, you can still do a lot.
Yeah.
iPhones come a long way in screen time and the whole family.
This has slowly graduated to a bullying thing, but I like it. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I was like freaking hazed on the bus.
I wouldn't say like I didn't have the bullying to where like it really, really put me down, but I think that, well, I mean, it did to a degree, but it was more of a like I mean, it affected me for sure, but I was never hit so hard by it that like I got depressed or I had like certain thoughts. Like I never crossed that bridge, but also like me as a person, I'm like my brain just doesn't operate that way. Like I can get into a depressive state, sure, but usually that's followed by some trauma. And if you know my life, I've had some of that in the past couple of years, but you know, I think kids nowadays are definitely more sensitive, which is why these issues are so important, because they are like big things that can happen, and they can happen very fast.
Well, and
if they're not addressed.
I'm going to pop in on that to just kind of provide perspective. It has gotten worse since I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was bullied to the point where, and I'm going to be extremely vulnerable about this.
Don't say the S word.
In 6th grade.
Don't say the S word.
I was ready to call it.
Yeah.
And, that's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
For somebody that age to feel that bad as a result of, all the things around them that are going on with their friends or their peers.
Mm-hmm. It's a very important time in your life too, because you're figuring out yourself and your life, and you're starting to kind of like prep yourself for what will be your future to some degree.
Yeah.
But you're also dealing with, that's a point in your life where you're starting, like, that's when your parents really become, like, your parents. Your parents, basically from point 0 to about, like, 10 or 11 are, like, I'm here for you all the... average... Or I'm here for you all the time. I'm checking in on you regularly. You're in my house constantly. I'm taking you to these things. I'm constantly seeing you, and I can gauge what you look like and how you look and this and that, and we're close. I'm keeping you alive because you can't do it yourself. But then after those years, and you become more independent, that's when your parenting really gets tested, because you have to actively seek your kid and ask them and dig and, really put in effort to figure out what's going on between their ears.
Well, it's not just that, but at those ages, which I'm
I'm right
on the forefront of that.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes that much harder to articulate lessons and instill morals and just concepts about life. Like, there are times where it's like, I want to help you. Really, I do. I cannot, because you have to figure this out. And
you have to figure out what kind of person you're going to become, basically. Like you said, morals, but like if you're gonna be an overly like empathetic person, or you're gonna be like the person that just doesn't have empathy, or you're gonna be the person that looks at things and analyzes them, or you're gonna just act first, think later. Like
a perfect example: when your child is 7 and leaves a glass on the table, you pick it up and put it in the sink.
Mm-hmm.
When your child is 11 and leaves a glass on the table, you point out to them that they left the glass on the table, and then they put it in the sink.
Mm-hmm.
When your child is 16, you have a collection of 12 glasses on the table, and you go off on them because they let it get to that point.
That was honestly a really good way to point that out. That was a really good way to really make that point. Yeah,
that's the progression, because as they near closer to adulthood, they have to be able to understand I can't leave this here. Nobody's going to pick it up.
I have to do things for myself.
Right.
And that's, part of what I said is like when they get to past those ages when they're in their preteens and starting to push towards like them leaving the home more often than they're there, you have to actively be a parent. You have to put in so much more effort to talk to them, stay in contact with them, really pay attention to the things that they're saying, their expressions, the way that they're acting, like the way that they're carrying on their day. Like, is that normal? Is it abnormal? Should I talk to them? Should I let them alone? Like, being a parent during those times are very, very challenging because you can get, like, if you're too overbearing, your kid's going to resist and push you away.
Yep.
If you're not there enough, your kid's going to crave that and seek that attention elsewhere.
And they're also not going to get the guidance.
Exactly. But if you do it just right, it's just the perfect recipe because kids need those relationships with their parents. They do. They need, you always need a dad to help you become a man. You need your mom to tell you how to care for people, how to be nurturing, etc. Those two things are very important for your life because not only, like, as a man, do you need to know how to take care of your family and to provide for your family, but you also need to know how to nurture your family. And if you don't have those two very important things, it's going to be a recipe for disaster, not only for you, not only for your partner, but for your kids too, because you're not going to have those tools.
Unique thing about fathers is
we're getting deep.
What?
I said we're getting deep, philosophical, baby.
It is literally the only man you will ever meet in your life who wants you to be a better man than him.
That just hit me so hard. God damn, that hit me so hard. Holy shit. Yeah.
I mean, that's not entirely true because some of us are like brothers and we kind of get to that point. Like, I feel like that about me. I wouldn't say I necessarily want you to be a better man than me, but I'd love for us to be on the same level.
So, goddamn. So you don't. But here's the thing. Like with having looking at things the way that we've been looking at them right now and having this conversation about all of this, it really turns into like I feel that I didn't find that out until after I had a kid.
Okay.
Like I could not have even put these things into the universe or even have them as a thought.
Without a doubt.
Up until I had a kid. Because when you have a kid, not only does your world change, obviously, but
your mind does.
Your mind changes. You start to think about things differently. You start to view things differently. Like,
let me frame something quick.
Oh, boy.
If you don't mind. Think of your daughter.
Yes.
Think of 5 years ago. What was she doing?
Nothing. She wasn't even alive.
Okay. So now you have a concept of 5 years ago, right?
Uh-huh.
5 years from now, I'm going to be putting my daughter behind the wheel of a vehicle that can kill her if she makes the wrong decision.
Yeah.
I have 5 years to make sure that she understands the scope of how serious that is and the importance. And if I don't do it right, I could lose her.
Well,
there's some timeline. There's some timeline for you.
Immediate panic.
It's short. It's not long.
So the way that you think about that, like, it makes sense. It does. I'm not to the point where I have to like really worry about that yet, but also
you'll be where I'm sitting in 5 years. Yes.
So thinking about it the way that you're thinking about it, it totally makes sense. Like, yes, that is what putting them on the road is like. Yes, you're putting them into a situation where the snap of a finger, they could be gone. But also,
and not by any of their fault either.
No,
so
but also
there's always that.
That could lead to like just pure paranoia on your end, obviously. But you also have to think that could happen at any instant now.
Yep.
So like putting her on the road is no different than where she's at right now.
Except when she's on the road, she's in control with a hell of a lot less experience.
Or she's not. She could be doing everything correctly, but another person isn't.
Exactly.
So it's the same. I think you have the same chances as something happening now than you do then.
Maybe. I mean, I don't stutter. No,
I know
so let me articulate my thought on that, and it's because I've seen my own progression behind the wheel of a car since I was 16.
Well, yeah.
Like, you just aren't as careful.
Yes, but also it's the same thing. Like it could have happened just as easily then than it could now. Like the chances are pretty much the same. Except, like, now you just have less people actually paying attention, which is the scary part, is no one's paying attention. But the things about when they're getting older is you're starting to lose control. That's basically, like, it's not her getting behind the wheel of a car and, you know, having this big, giant piece of metal decide if she lives or dies. It's you not now just losing the control of, you know, what she's doing and where she's going.
I think control is
a hard thing, because leading up to this, you've been able to control everything. You get to protect them. You get to oversee everything that they're doing, and you get to be there immediately if something goes wrong.
I have a little bit different perspective on that. Because you've got to remember that I have split custody.
Well, yes.
So, literally half of her life, I'm supposed to have a say over. And do I have a say? We'll say yes. But that doesn't mean that what I say goes.
No, but
so
I'm not talking about like the influence part, or like things that they allow her to do versus things that you allow her to do, where that could contradict.
No, you're talking
themselves.
about like
I'm
world
talking
versus
about
parent instead of
just
parent versus
watching
parent.
them start to gain more and more independence the older they get. Naturally, you as a parent gain less influence and less control, and that's scary. As a parent, that's a scary thought, because they're going out into the world, into the great unknown, and you just have to sit back and watch it. Because if you try to sway them one way or the other, or you try and be that overbearing, I still want to control everything, it's not going to end well for you.
I think
that relationship is going to be hindered for sure.
I think we're articulating control a little beyond the sense that we're trying to, in that, like, as a parent, you know, yes, you lose control over your child as they get older. It's an inherent expectation.
They get more independence. They become more and more of a independent being. They don't need you as much.
Right. So at the same token, I wonder if it is more the whole I don't need you to do this for me versus I'm not doing this your way, or you're not doing this for me.
So
I don't see the independence as...
It's not really... Like, I'm talking... When I say control, I'm not talking about the way that they do things or this or that. I'm talking more of like you can...
The ability for them to honor your decision?
No.
Or the ability for them to listen, like even frickin' listen.
It's
I can't even get her to listen.
Not even
I'm
control
kidding,
in the normal aspect. I'm thinking like when I say control, I think of like a broad like control. Like you can be there for them when they fall. You can be there for them when they fuck up. You can be there for them when they're sad. You can be there for them if they get made fun of. You can be there for them if during the good times. You can be there for them every single time that they need you. You can do everything for them. You can do their homework for them if you wanted to. You can do everything to the most extreme. You can do everything for them. You can drive them to dance. You can go to their dance classes. You can go to their baseball games. You can go to all of these things. You can, do all of these things for them. You can do all these things with them. Like, you have this huge bubble that you're living in where you just have this perfect life of, like, this is never going to end. But as they get older, that bubble starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the control that you had in that bubble also gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And they're starting to just do things that they want to do, and you don't have a say in it. You don't even know it's happening.
I'm just going to put this out there. That starts for you now. Like, your bubble is going to start to shrink. That's Mine is like, okay.
The minute they start walking, that bubble begins to shrink because that's their first step into independence.
Right.
But I still don't think... they start to feed themselves. And then they start to, get these little interests where they want to play with these toys versus these toys. And they want to start, maybe playing video games, but their own video games. And they want to watch certain movies, or they don't want to watch certain movies. Or they want to eat pizza, but they don't want to eat spaghetti. And they want to eat princess soup every day of the week. And they throw a fit every time that you don't give them princess soup. Like, that bubble begins to shrink when those little steps of independence start. But that bubble really starts to rapidly shrink in those preteen to mid-teen years.
Well, yeah, it's an exponential curve, and I think that it's
that 5 years that you were talking about, that's when your bubble's really going to start shrinking.
And I think
for any parent, that's life-changing.
I think it's important to recognize it's also not a bad thing.
No, it's not. It's not. I don't want anybody listening here, if you've made it this far, to think about it in a negative way. Like, it is sad. Yes, it is, like, you're letting your baby go out and become their own person. Like, that's scary, and it's very sad as a parent because...
But it's exciting.
It is, because you get to watch them blossom. You get to watch them succeed. You get to watch them really come into their own and take on the world and become who they are going to become in their early 20s and stuff like that. Like, you get to really watch them become who they are going to become for the rest of their life.
Or you don't.
That's very true. So, like, yes, it can be sad, but it can also be beautiful and rewarding, because all of this, if you're doing parenting right and you're putting all of this hard work into, like, building this little human that is caring and smart and, just all of these things, and you get to just push them into the room and be like, look, go do it. I've trained you up to this point, little Padawan. It's time for you to become a Jedi.
And then they walk off into the training area and get their head cut off by a Sith. No, I mean, I don't. I think it's important to not be fatalistic as you get older, and
it's just going to cause just so much anxiety for no reason.
You're absolutely right.
You have to look at the bright sides of it, and I'm going to be 100% honest here. When it gets to these types of things where you're having to have these moments where you really need clarity on these events that happen in your life, especially like with your child or this or that, or you get in your own head, lean on your friends. Lean on your friends. talk to your friends.
Leave us a comment. We'll answer.
Yeah, talk to us. We'll talk back. Like,
he's always on his phone.
I cannot tell you how great it's been to have you and to have Keith as like these people that I can just be flat out 100% honest with no fear of judgment, no fear of anything like coming back at me. Like, when it's time for serious talk and I'm like, look, I need to put this out there. Both of you have been like, dude, we're here. It's good. That's all it takes. Because just knowing that you have these two people in your life, like, it's different. If it's different with your significant other, like, they are obviously like your bread and butter. They are your number one. But there are just some things that
I'm your number one.
There are just some things that you just need your friends for. Like, that your significant other could do the exact same thing that your friends do. It just doesn't mean as much.
Yo, your wife can't do what I do.
No, she can't.
On that note.
Yeah, but back to the original point of, like, nerd culture. We got on quite a tangent.
Nerd culture is gone.
I think nerd culture is kind of gone. It's kind of just, now it's just pop culture at this point.
If you call somebody a nerd these days, you need to reevaluate yourself.
Yeah, like, it's gotten to the point where, especially on streaming culture, you've got girls playing video games, you've got guys playing video games.
You've got a lot of people doing a lot of things.
We're not going
to get into that.
You've got old people playing video games. You've got young people. Like, everybody's playing video games, whether it's like actual video games, whether it's trading card games, whether it's Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's reading books, whether it's being a music nerd, whether it's being a movie geek. Whatever you can geek out on or nerd out on, it's no longer a thing that you have to be, like, worried about being made fun of for, because most of these things now are just widely accepted in pop culture.
Hey, do you think there'd be any interest in a Twitch channel where I do nothing but read the same book over and over and over again? Like, not audibly read, like not even like read aloud, just sit there with the book open.
There are people that do sleep streams, so it wouldn't be out of the ordinary. If there's a thing that you can stream, people are doing it.
Okay,
100%.
If you want to hate on people, don't hate on people for being a nerd. Hate on people for sleep streaming, because that's weird as shit.
It is. I think we've hit everything. There was a couple other topics, but we really got on a tangent there about being a parent, and
next week
philosophical, but I like that we could have that serious talk and everything. It's going to kind of be a bit of a nightmare trying to put out into the segments, but oh well.
We're Dad's Game Room.
Hey, we almost did it at the same time. Look at that.